Welcome everyone to Grand Tacticians, the Civil War. This is the Confederate campaign starting in the spring of 1861. In our latest episode, we see the Eastern Theater start to stabilize after the Union forces retreat from their siege of Washington, D.C. Albert Sidney Johnston's Army of the West begins his Mississippi campaign to drive the Federals off the banks of the Mississippi River, where they are trying to cross and get into southern Arkansas. That and much more on the next episode of Grand Tacticians, the Civil War. It is the spring of 1862, April 2nd. Lieutenant General P.G.T. Beauregard has beaten back the Union off the Confederate-occupied Washington, D.C., breaking the siege for the moment and hopefully able to resupply his army after dwindling supplies. Part of the problem with holding Washington is that supplies coming across the Potomac are blocked by the naval presence there. We can see our objectives so far in the war. Capture Washington, D.C. is a yes. Win a major battle, yes. We have not broken Union morale yet. Now, morale of armies is at 62 and national morale for the Union is at 54. So this represents the citizens' willingness to fight. It is influenced by policies and objectives and is reduced when losing battles or towns are occupied. Recapturing lost towns retrieves the morale loss. If national morale drops too low, the campaign is lost. So Union total cumulative morale loss is minus 46 versus the Confederacy minus 2.62. Looks like the biggest factor for Confederate morale loss is private wealth loss for a morale hit of 6.61. While winning the first major battle is a minus 2 if you lose. So the Union cumulative morale loss, looks like their largest number is that minus 10 through battles. Although the state support for the Union has not wavered. We have not captured 3 Union cities though, so I'm guessing I guess St. Louis would not be considered a Union city. Missouri stayed in the Confederacy. So Cairo's a Union city. What level city? It's a level 2 city. Alright, here's the strategic situation in Maryland right now. Like we just said, Beauregard's Army of Northern Virginia has beaten back the Federals off their sieging of Washington, D.C. to get the city back, which actually opens up a supply line from Frederick, Maryland, as the Army of Shenandoah under Benjamin McCulloch has come kind of to the rescue, helping to relieve that pressure, especially with Preston's Corps that had been raiding in Baltimore. Preston wheeled back around Frederick and came back around to aid in the opening up the supply lines into Washington. So Coke's Corps of the Army of Shenandoah will guard the left flank. So they'll guard Frederick. I would like to rest Lee. We're actually going to try to march Magruder across the Potomac and try to move maybe Lee's Corps to Alexandria for some resting. Because if the one thing the Union does have is a lot of manpower, they can come striking back. These 3 armies right here are falling back, though. They have been beaten back. There are the Army of the Potomac with 12,000 and the Department of Pennsylvania with 6,000. There's an Army of Minnesota of 25,000 fresh recruits and 45 guns that have been reported on the way. So we have our reserve army under Porterfield in North Carolina. Now with McCulloch in Frederick, Maryland, he has actually opened the door again to the Shenandoah Valley. His main task was to protect the valley from a Union invasion in our flank and rear as we attacked into Maryland and took Washington, D.C. But now he was called up to reinforce the besieged Army of Northern Virginia. So now that opens the door. It looks like we have an Army of Indiana of some estimated 25,000 men that might be able to threaten the Shenandoah Valley. do have Johnston's Army of Kentucky that is trying to make their way and possibly threaten Ohio, so threatening the Union rear, because we see no real obstacles in our way. We can maybe threaten Cincinnati, try to draw off some reinforcements from Maryland. I want to upgrade the depot at Manassas. Really should try to build a depot at Alexandria. We're going to try to transfer what available units we have to the Army of the Shenandoah. Right, Militia Act 3 will be finished in 7.8 days. An act lengthening the contracts of new volunteer units to 36 months or the end of the war, meaning if the war ends, the contracts will be nullified. Larger or longer contracts allow units to remain in the Army long enough to become effective in battle. Recruitment quotas are increased, because now we are also experiencing a recruitment glut. All right, we're going to spend a little bit more, one more tick in recruitment, and see if we can't increase our manpower. Although our ports are being blockaded pretty effectively in on the coast of Virginia and parts of North Carolina, the Deep South remains untouched by blockade, except for Cedar Key Port. But the Gulf is still wide open, and Savannah Coast and South Carolina, Charleston is still wide open. Same with New Orleans. All right, the situation in the West. Front lines. You can see the Union has taken a lot of West Virginia up into the Shenandoah Valley. We have that part of Maryland near Frederick and Hagerstown coming out across from Harper's Ferry. I guess we have a patch of southeast Ohio. And we have the southern Illinois Peninsula region around Cairo. And the Union again encroaches upon us across the banks of the Mississippi River around southeast Missouri, around the Benton area where we already fought one major battle. Supply depot is being built here. So military installation by the Union being built right here, so that looks like the Union wants to build a supply base right off the coast of the Mississippi River on the eastern edge of Missouri. So Blanchard's division from the Army of Missouri trying to retake Fredericton is still controlled by Union forces in that depot. Buckner Corps has been sent already across the Mississippi to stop the Union forces that are landing on the banks of the Mississippi. Woods Corps is trying to cross as well. I think we'll order Buckner try to intercept this first corps that's landing. It's the Army of the Northwest, estimated about 25,000 men. Albert Sidney Johnston is ordering his corps to try to converge on that landing point where the Union corps are estimated to be landing. This Department of the West, this Union Department of the West with some 24,000 men, is guarding against Zollenkoffer's small army of Missouri that is mainly just guarding St. Louis. Zollenkoffer's main task is to protect St. Louis. In the far west, the Army of Kansas under Tillman, Lieutenant General Lloyd Tillman, they have built their telegraph line. They have built their depot at Springfield, Missouri. Their base of operations now out of Springfield is ready. General John Pegram has been ordered to take Fort Scott in Kansas. Though there is not a direct telegraph line from Springfield out to the other telegraph stations. So they built the telegraph station, but there's no messages coming in or out. So really only Lee's supply is still on a supply alert. Right now, everyone else is pretty good. I imagine Lee's supply situation should get much better. All right, let's move on to the next day. Let's see how things unfold here after the Second Battle of Washington, D.C. You can see that there are a bunch of rearguard actions, though, conducted by the Union forces with lots of casualties and routing. We're suffering some pursuit casualties. So Lee is connected to depots and now is connected with the Washington Depot, Chesapeake and Ohio Canal Depot, and Frederick depot. So lots of supplies finally coming into Lee's corps. We're actually going to order Oak's corps back towards Frederick. I want him to be in a defensive stance. So reports of another army coming down to try to disrupt our left flank. The Army of Ohio looks like they're trying to attack into Washington, D.C. Order Magruder to deal with that threat. All right, so night of the 2nd, morning of the 3rd. We're out west, taking a look here. There might be a battle about to start again near Washington, D.C., though. See Buckner's Corps and Hood's Corps on the move. Army of Kentucky has reached their destination. Army of Ohio has retreated away from Washington, D.C. Looks like Army of Minnesota is taking a defensive stance. So hopefully we can rest and refit a little bit the Army of Northern Virginia for a final campaign, maybe to end the war in Maryland. Especially, we'll see what happens out west and what Albert Sidney Johnston can do. Gotta watch our rating here. We might actually tick down our industry a little bit, save on some funds, and try to pay off some debt. See, there are some more volunteers entering, but we need a little bit more. So we increased our recruitment spending. We'll need to let it work out for our next couple of days. Hopefully Militia Act 3 should add some more manpower for us. We've captured the Fredericton Depot. Got a couple decent guns here that we can upgrade. Why don't we give the Major Wadsworth these 12-pound howitzers. So Cooper's Artillery Reserve, we're actually going to give them that 20-pound Parrott rifle. Artillery Reserve should have the heavies, the baddie guns. We actually probably give the Horse Artillery this 12-pound Napoleon. Alright, let's watch another day here and out west. Alright, we're going to go into April 4th. So we see Buckner's Corps and Hood's Corps cross back over the Mississippi to the west bank to try to cut off the Union forces. And Price's Corps is still on the east bank of the Mississippi. Not seeing a lot of movement by the Union Corps there. April 5th, no battle is initiated. So early morning hours of the 5th, some more movement towards that Union Corps on the banks of the Mississippi. Everyone has reached their destination points, except for Buckner. Order Wheeler's Corps, Cavalry Corps to scout. I'm going to scout ahead of Pinckneyville here towards these Army Corps. We haven't seen a lot of movement from the Union armies. I'm wondering where their actual movement is. I wonder if our intelligence is flawed. Someone just got wounded. Oh, Colonel Bryan is recovered, so that's good. So Buckner's at destination. So all our corps are at their destination points. Everyone looks like they're in good supply. Tillman will move his infantry that he has direct command over to Papinville. Probably build a depot there. All right, let's move Johnston's headquarters to Harrodsburg, Kentucky. We'll move Archer's Corps ahead to Lexington. There's a depot now at Harrodsburg. So the Union forces have backed off in Maryland, and they're making it tempting for us to just take Baltimore. Since Magruder is across the Potomac and manning the defenses of Washington, we probably could send Ewell's Corps to take Baltimore, let Lee rest some more. There was something else I wanted to address with the Army of Northern Virginia. I think we need to get rid of James. George James has been very insubordinate. I want to replace him as division commander. Braxton Bragg is just staring at me like, hey, I'm available. I'm your Huckleberry. We'll probably offer James a different command somewhere else. Who are his brigade command? David Jones. I deserves a promotion. We'll actually assign Bragg to Jones's old brigade. David R. Jones gets the division command. Oh, one of the features that I've noticed now in the 1.0 version is under the commander list. It's not under the history, but under the commander, it does show up-to-date promotions. So Braxton Bragg, promoted to colonel, recovered and returned to active duty. He was injured earlier in the war. It was not doing that in the pre-1.0 release. Now they are only Wade Hampton's been in like almost every battle in the Eastern Front. Now they only list the one battle, Chesapeake and Ohio, February 9th, 1862. Why that one, I don't know. Frost did get famed. We'll replace him with Brian after he has recovered from his wounds. Where do we want to put James? James, we probably could actually make him this corps commander, so that James actually gets a promotion. But he's under Porterfield's direct command right now, though his administration rating is not very good for this task. Well, lack of good administrating generals. They're all at the front. A good administrating general and behind the lines, recruiting and training men would be ideal. We don't really have that at the moment. We will move on. Let's see if we can't get Ewell to take Baltimore. Alright, so battle is offered out west. Hood's Corps Army of the West is in contact with the Army of the Northwest. We have our 54,000 men versus an estimated 50,000 men of the Army of the Northwest. Commanded by an Adrian Holmes, Major General Adrian Holmes. Home state of Alabama, Adrian Holmes. Alright, let's play the battle. Confederacy fields 66,000 men under Lieutenant General Johnston. Union Army boasts some 52,000 men. Tonight we will water our horses in the Mississippi River. Alright, deployment phase. It's going to be our old friend, the Spencer Bay map, or the Copperton map. I'd like to see a little bit more variation in maps. Scouts report the enemy is near the Mississippi, Missouri, and our army is to prepare for battle. We are facing 35th Army. Enemy army is green and the morale is reported to be broken. Reports indicate their supply situation is outstanding. The supply state. This might be pretty interesting. We're coming from two sides. Coming from that small strip of land in between Spencer Bay and the swamps of Ford's Fork in front of Copperton, and from the south. Donaldson's going to deploy on the left here because I'm not sure. Union might set up around this high ground here. All right, here's our deployment. We've got Price's Corps in front of Copperton. Don't see the presence of any Union troops here. Donaldson's division of Buckner's Corps is stationed on the left flank around this high ground area just to see if the Union comes or tries to establish themselves on this ridge, Humbert's Crest. And we have Walker and Breckinridge here linking up with Price's Corps. It's actually Hood's Corps. I think Buckner's Corps is on the way, so we actually have reinforcements on the way to start the battle. We hold the ground, so we're kind of on the base of this high ground here. I do not like Donaldson's position now that I look at it one more time. Can position ourselves along the famed Nichols Wall. That's not a victory objective anymore. Try to use these walls here as a defensive point. Right now it looks like there's only about 23,000 men on the Union side. Morale looks to be about even for each side. Order Walker's division into these woods and try to defend this ground. Breckinridge small division can act as a supporting and reinforcing force. We'll hold back the artillery reserve. The date is right, so that's good news. April 7th, 1862. Again, I think the Second Battle of Washington with the wrong date, and even I didn't like the Chesapeake and Ohio name of the battle because that wasn't even the map they used before for that first Chesapeake and Ohio battle. Guess we will use Anderson to scout. Oh, Buckner's Corps is here. So Buckner's Corps can travel along the road here along Humbert's Crest and see if we can't discover the enemy's position. They've got to be up in this corner. Oh, here they are. We're going to order Kershaw right there. Deploy skirmishers out. Let's order Geoge's guns right in front of this church. All right, now we see a lot of Union soldiers. And lots of feuding. Again, striking the Union forces. It'll be interesting how that plays out. I don't see any feuding going on with Johnston's army. So we'll send Withers' division of Johnston's Corps along the road here. All right, Donaldson will leave his position because I don't think there's anything there to worry about. Kershaw's coming into position to block the main entrance into Copperton. Repositioning our senior commanders. A beautiful 59-degree sunny April day. I'll take this moment to thank everyone for watching this video. If you are enjoying this video and enjoying this series, if you haven't already, I would appreciate if you subscribed, liked the video, or left a comment. Check out the links in the description. I appreciate it. So Geoge's guns are getting in position. Looks like the Union's reassessing their situation. So we have the numerical superiority, and I think the Union expects us to attack. Which, if we do, we'll hit their right flank coming off of Mason Hill. Now the Union looks like they're going to try to attack. They're going to try to attack Price's Corps. Skirmishers are going to try to pick off the cannoneers. Union first battery falls back. Very nicely done by the skirmishers here. It's already 1 in the afternoon, so if we do want to take the initiative now, we're gonna have to hurry up with this flank attack. Got a couple of tired brigades here though, Crossland and Fournay, after marching through these woods. Let's see if we can position these guns though to start softening up their position. Let's call in the reserve artillery too. Alright, well, Longstreet and actually Price's Corps, Longstreet's division, Price's Corps will act as the anvil, and while Buckner is the hammer, Hood will also support in that hammer and anvil attack. So Price will need to keep the Union right here, though. So if they actually need to attack, actually that's where Hood's role will come important. Trying to rest up Crossland and Forney. Why don't we move Maxey out forward, though? And Gracie. So elements of Wither's division are getting tired from the long march in hilly terrain. I see an opportunity to score a major victory here. So we need to score a major, to gain a major victory, we need to inflict more than 30% casualties on the enemy while our own losses not surpass 20%. That I think we can achieve that for sure. Right now, the main issue I think we have is not enough time to make that happen. They're defending this little area. It's defensible terrain. Now, I would definitely have positioned around these fences here. They're not open and exposed to artillery. They currently have 200 casualties, so it's just long distance fighting right now. Alright, hopefully we'll see what our positioning of Walker's men is around 2 in the afternoon. We might strike out with parts of Longstreet and Hill to keep. I want to keep these guys right here. We keep the Union position right here and send Buckner in around. We still got Donaldson here too. He's disrupted though. Crossland is winded. We'll move him forward though. You can tell the Union definitely doesn't want to commit to a full-scale assault. They realize they're way outnumbered right now. Now I'm expecting reinforcements according to our intelligence, and that might disrupt our flank attack because we may get flanked in the process. We'll kind of wrap it up right here for this first part of the battle. We'll finish up the conclusion of the first battle of Mississippi on the next one. I appreciate your time. You have a very good day.